Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 6 of Season 59 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Officially halfway through the regular season, now preparing for the home stretch towards when we determine who is going to be a contender in the playoffs for the Season 59 Tally Challenge Championship. I'm Seth Cole, flying solo here tonight. My broadcast colleague Michael Norman under the weather, sending well wishes to him. Unfortunately, alone here in the commentator's booth, but it does open up another spot in the field, and we have the largest field so far this season getting ready to roll off the grid here tonight. 41 drivers will take the green flag this evening in our third trip to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. 5 different races, 5 different race winners so far to start out the season. The most recent of those, Kelly Causey, locking himself into a playoff position. Got some interesting names up inside of our top 12 in the point standings, which is a criteria to advance into the playoffs. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments. And also very interesting, the random qualifying results here tonight, because Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, I don't know what it was that it decided it was going to do this evening, but it is playing no favorites when it comes to the 5 former winners so far this season. But as the field is gritting up on pit road, want to give a big thank you, a big shout out to Bernie Mobbs, as for the remainder of the season, you're going to see the Chevy Silverado FRN Pace Truck that will be leading the field around at the initial start of the race and under subsequent yellow flags. Big thank you to Bernie Mobbs for that beautiful looking machine. And 41 beautiful machines going to be rolling off right behind it as Billy Elliser gets his first pole of the season. He's going to be alongside of the Cadillac Escalade of Doug Cady. Row 2 is going to find Dave Melson and Keith Bynum. Milt Surratt makes up row 3 with Jerm Lewis. Row 4, Terry Bombard and Josh Metallic. Jason Scheck, he's going to complete the top 10 with Doug Hewlick. 11th starting spot will be Jeff Crivello. In 12th, Wiley Coate. 13th, Bob Seminara. 14th will be Nathan Balser, and Glenn Harris will complete the top 15. He shares row 8 with Bernie Mobbs. Row 9, Rodney Sullins. He's alongside of Robbie Nice in the top 20. Completed by Bob Dixon and Ron Hagelin. Looks like we had a driver that did not grid up, so we're going to have a little bit of extra time to run through this 41 truck field. We ended off at 20th. 21st will be Brian Schilling. Jim Gloud in 22nd. Jessica Shelton, 23rd. Donnie Garrett will share row 12 with her. Ken Roberts will be in row 13. He's with Bobby Farrell. Row 14 finds Cy Jones and Brian Ronson. Rosson. I keep getting the last name incorrect. I got it right last week. Got to remember it this week. And the top 30 completed with Joe DeSpirito and Mark Paglia. Chuck McClure rolls off in 31st. 32nd, Richard Martin. 33rd place is where we find Chris Emery. 34th, Grant Wesley. John Godfrey will be 35th. 36th, Craig Hagley. 37th will be JT Mayhew, running well in points, but not a good starting track position for him here tonight. Mike Mangialardi, he's going to be rolling off 38th. 39th, Tim Novsker. 40th, Kelly Causey. And 41st is Jeremy Jeffries. If you've been keeping track this season, you'll recognize that none of our 5 previous winners from this season are starting inside of the top 30. As a matter of fact, our 3 previous race winners from the last 3 weeks are all starting 39th, 40th, and 41st. Knopfler, Causey, and Jeffries. Highest starter of our previous winners is Chuck McClure in 31st and Grant Wesley in 34th. So if they're going to get their second wins on the season, they're going to have to do it from the back. Also, a point in note, we've had the last couple of weeks Mike Mangialardi in the 0. He is in the 029 for the remainder of the season, so keep a lookout for that truck. Laps of racing await these drivers here tonight. Had 5 different winners. What do you think? We're going to have 6 different winners go to victory lane. The odds right now, based off the qualifying results, look like it. Or will we have one of our 5 previous drivers go to victory lane for a second time here tonight. We're also going to bring you up to speed in a few moments on the bracket challenge that kicked off last week. Several drivers moving on from round 1 to round 2. And we'll let you know who those particular drivers are during the course of this race and be keeping track of it as the event plays out. Billy Elliser with the pole position. He joins Jeremy Jeffries, Bob Seminara, Chris Emery, and Grant Wesley as a pole sitter this season. Of course, the pole is given via the random qualifying draw. Jeremy Jeffries has 2 of the pole positions this year. Seminara, Emery, Wesley, and now Elliser with 1 apiece. That beautiful FRN Chevy Silverado pace truck dives onto pit road. He's ready to turn him loose here this evening at Bird Screwdrivers Raceway. Billy Elliser and Keith Bynum going to be the front row as Doug Cady elected to drop to the rear. Waiting on the flagman. He's got the flag in his hand, and it is waving. We are underway here tonight at BSR. Orderly here through 1 and 2. Got a couple of drivers ducking out 3 wide there through the center of 1 and 2. One of those is Chris Emery. Can't tell who the other truck is there up on that top line. Got a couple more that are going up there. One of those trucks might have possibly been Chuck McClure in the 17. Now they've actually all ducked back down into the second lane. We're back to double wide. Ken Roberts now on the outside, and a little bit further back, I see Grant Wesley and a couple of others jumped up to the top. I would assume that a few of them might be drivers that are former winners trying to get the track position that they were unable to start with. Elliser leads the first lap of the race. Keith Bynum and Jerm Lewis trying to get something going on the top side. Josh Metallic and Doug Kulik there along with him. Of course, Doug Kulik winning the inaugural race here at Bird Screwdrivers Raceway when it made its debut on the schedule last season. On the 20th position, they're 3 wide. Roberts, Emery, Wesley, McClure. I see Knopfsker back there. I think Craig Hagley was up there as well in the 32. Mentioned that there's a couple of drivers have had very consistent starts to the first half of this regular season, and subsequently they are currently holding playoff positions via points. Grant Wesley, multi-time champion, 20 points up on Josh Metallic for the current points lead. Keith Bynum with a big push from Jerm Lewis. He's going to be clear for the race lead here going into turn 3. Brian Shelley, he's 3rd in points, 25 points back. Bernie Mobbs, 34 points out in 4th. And JT Mayhew is 5th in the standings, actually tied for 5th with Tim Knopfsker. They are both 37 points out. Mentioned Craig Hagley, he's up in the top 10 in points. 7th coming into tonight, 44 points out. Gained 6 spots in the standings last week. Jeremy Jeffries and Chris Emery, they're tied for 8th. 48 points apiece outside of the points lead as we are almost 3 wide for the lead. Metallic and Sullins bringing that 3rd lane forward. Chuck McClure right now is 10th in points, former winner this season, 52 points out, and then the final 2 spots would currently go to Kelly Causey, last week's winner, and Jeff Crivello holds the 12th and final playoff position as things stand right now, points-wise. Not that big of an advantage, though, over drivers like Donnie Garrett, Bob Seminara, Greg Palmer, Rodney Sullins, Dave Melson, so it is still anybody's guess as to who's going to be in the postseason here in season 59, and who'll be battling for a championship. So a lot of laps to turn. 5 races, including tonight, still to go in the regular season. And remember that extra race that the drivers did not have last season. There were 9 regular season races last year, 10 regular season races here in the 59th season. So An extra 66 laps for some points to be exchanged, some positions to maybe get swapped in the regular season finale. Not sure what exactly happened. Both the second and third lanes, they were both starting to make their way up to a potential 3 wide for the lead. Keith Bynum was leading the middle line. Josh Metallic was leading the outside line, and now Rodney Sullins, I'm sorry, correction, I guess that's Jason Scheck. Yeah, it is Jason Scheck now leading the third lane, and those 2 lanes respectively have dropped all the way back to around the 9th, 10th position. I don't know if maybe some drivers in the middle of those respective lines bailed out to the bottom, or if the energy just wasn't there for those 2 respective lines, but now you've got about 7, 8 trucks on the bottom that have gotten themselves cleared up to, I believe that is Bob Dixon in the 143. I believe Jim Gloud in the 72 might be clear. And indeed he is. We're now 3 wide for around the 9th position here. Doug Hewlick, Donnie Garrett, Keith Bynum, Jason Scheck, Jeremy Lewis, Josh Metallic all in this 3 wide. Bobby Farrell hits his left sides down the apron there, going into turn 1. Like everybody is currently up in this lead group. Yes, indeed they are. All 41 drivers in this lead pack. We're going to keep an eye here around this 10th position, this 3 wide racing, several rows deep. Eyeballing it, looks like about 7 rows deep right now. Ooh, Cy Jones a little out of shape back there. And into the tri-oval, hangs onto it. I don't know if he just got loose off of turn 4. Might have gotten a bad bump from Doug Cady, but hangs on to it. Everybody keeps it pointed in the right direction. We stay green. Doug Hewlick, Donnie Garrett, they've now gotten clear on that inside line. Bobby Farrell looking to be the next driver to do so. Keith Bynum, who was leading that middle line for majority of this run, has now jumped up to the 3rd lane to pick up Jason Scheck. And now Jerm Lewis, who got a big shove there down the back straightaway from Chris Emery. Like he wanted to jump up there, but stays in line with Emery. Now he's going to jump up to that 3rd line. That's going to stall out the momentum of that 3rd lane. Ooh, this is sketch. We're almost looking 3 wide, a very tight 3 wide there through the ends of the tri-oval to the start-finish line. That's just continuing to help out this inside line. Farrell is clear. Brian Schilling looks to be next. Mark Paglia right behind him, along with Jeremy Jeffries, who right now I believe is the highest running of our 5 previous race winners from the season. This might be the most laps led so far this season for Billy Elliser. He's about to come around and lead his 9th lap of the season. Elliser comes into this race 21st in points. Is, do some quick math here, 30 points behind, 12th in the standings cut line. And yes, he did just eclipse his most laps led on the season. He led 8 back in the season opener at Talladega, and then led 1 lap at race 2 and 1 lap in race 3. If he comes around here, completes this lap, he will have tied the amount of laps that he's led the entirety of the first 5 races this season. Dave Melson seems pretty content for the moment to ride in 2nd, Milt Surratt in 3rd. 4th place, Terry Bombard and Jeff Crivello, we mentioned, right now in that hot seat, 12th in the point standings. Currently holding down the 5th position, double wide behind him for 6th. Bob Seminara on the bottom, Jerm Lewis on the top. It looks like now that middle line, that 2nd lane is finally getting some momentum. Jeremy Jeffries has gone up there, Brian Schilling also, and the 28 of Mark Paglia. They're making something happen there. Jerm Lewis is now about to get alongside of Terry Bonhart for fourth place. Doug Hewlick and Josh Metallic all alone up in that extreme outside line. A couple of other drivers further back there up on the outside line. One of them appeared to be the yellow and blue 029, and Mike Mangialardi couldn't tell who the other driver was with him. I believe that might be JT Mayhew in the 338. Now Dave Melson jumps up to the middle groove. Jerm Lewis gets shuffled out, as did Jason Scheck. Let's see if Melson can get a push from Jeremy Jeffries here down the back straightaway. Look at the run. Look at the momentum. 197 for the middle line, 194 for the inside line. Huge difference in speed. You could visibly see the momentum down the back straightaway. Melson edges ahead. Will he get this lap led here when they come around to the start-finish line? Looks like he very well might. Dave Melson picking up a win this past Monday in the Bare Bones Racing Series at Gateway, and looking to pick up a second victory this week here in the Tally Challenge. Mention the fact Dave Melson's not that far back in the point standings from the cut line. 17th in points, 15 points out. With where he is in the point standings right now, inside of the top 20, he wouldn't necessarily have to get up inside the top 12 in points if he got a win. Criteria for making it into the playoffs is either be inside the top 12 in points, whether you have a win or not. If you do have a win, be inside of the top 20 in the point standings. We ended up having last season one driver that was outside of the top 12 with a victory locked themselves into the playoffs, giving us a total of 13. I believe it was Doug Hewlick was that driver. Ryan Schilling going to come around, and he's going to get himself a lap led. So Elliser, Melson, and now Schilling, the drivers that have taken a turn out in front after coming around to complete the laps at the start-finish line. Oh, car in the wall! Melson! What a save! Oh, and we're wrecking in the back! Grant Wesley is around, and the caution's going to fly. Jeff Crivello up on his side, lands back on his wheels, and they're still wrecking back here. Kelly Causey, Hewlick is around. Angelardi is facing the wrong way. There's Rodney Sullins on the bottom right. Len Harris. Ryan Ronson in the 21. I'm pretty sure he spun around. Oh! Rodney Sullins trying to get the thing fired back up. Slides up into Richard Martin. Chuck McClure's back here in the 17. Oh, Robbie Knights is going to take a hit there into Rodney Sullins. Caution out for the first time here tonight. You have to wonder if this stemmed from what we saw at the front of the field. Dave Melson, I don't know if he got a bad bump or if there was maybe some bumper grab, but it appeared that Melson got into the wall. Jerm Lewis almost got into the wall as well. Everybody up at the front kept it together, and I'm wondering if there was some stack up or some reaction in the middle of the pack. First truck that I saw out of shape was the 88 of Grant Wesley, former winner this season. These drivers were only about 5 laps away from when they were going to have to make their first pit stop of the night, so they're going to get to pit under caution, and we'll go back and see if we can get a look at a replay. It's hard to tell sometimes with the wrecks that take place here who was involved and who wasn't, because you have drivers that were obviously collected up in it, and you have a lot of drivers that get on the brakes, slow down, and then slowly crawl their way through. So until we go back and look at all the replays, we don't necessarily get the gist of who exactly all were involved. Now, I want to jump up real quickly here. This didn't bring out the caution, but I want to see if this might have been the lead up to the wreck, and we'll see if we can figure out what happens here. Dave Melson might end up coming up in front of Jerm Lewis potentially off of turn 2. Yeah, and Jerm kind of runs out of room and into the wall, but they all keep it together up here. Here's what happens here. So we had 2 wrecks in 2 different areas of the pack. The Grant Wesley incident, and then up here further with Kelly Causey, Rodney Sullins, Mike Mangialardi and company. We're going to need some band out views of all who were involved. So let's start first with Grant Wesley. I think the truck behind him might be Brian Rawson. Let's go to the helicopter cam. This will give us a good idea. We'll use the helicopter cam for most of the replays here. Yeah, just an uneven bump, and then further up, it looked like it was Glenn Harris gets into the back of Chuck McClure. Knopfsker in that. Richard Martin was in it. Ty Jones, hard to tell if he just came to a stop or not. I think he did. I don't think he was involved. And then there's McClure facing the wrong way. Pretty sure he got a bump from behind by Chuck McClure. Gonna focus on the 17. Here's the incident there. Chuck's coming down. That was almost 4 wide, almost 5 wide there. Glenn Harris was on the left rear quarter panel, as I think McClure was trying to get by Brian Ronson. There just wasn't room. There's Wiley Coate. Man, Nate Balser just splitting between Rodney Sullins and Glenn Harris. There's Doug Cady, making his way through. Little bump there. Bernie Mobs to the back of Richard Martin. Get another camera view here of everything that went down. See what the spectator cam gives us. Watch the 56 of Jeff Crivello right there. Trucks. He catches a little bit of air underneath them, and they like to go airborne. JT Mayhew gets through. Craig Hagley gets through. Everybody gets it refired and continues on. Not sure who got the most damage out of all that. Ooh, look out. Ronnie Sullins. That's where I think he spun out, got into Richard Martin, and then he comes up the track there in front of the path of Robbie Nisus. Takes some onboards. Like Terry Bombard elected to stay out and lead a lap. Everybody else was on pit road, so Terry will probably be starting to the rear of the field. Right on board with the 20 of Jessica Shelton. Right behind Brian Russell. Had that contact with Grant Wesley. Oh wow, Craig Hagley right there. You can barely see him to her right. And it's a matter of figure out where they're going and go where they ain't. Shelton gets through nicely. There's Crivello against the outside wall into the entrance of turn number 3. Take a look and see if we can find that field goal by the 079, Nathan Balser. Watch this. Bump to the back of Richard Martin, and then up here, watch for the 38 of Rodney Sullins, the 8 of Glenn Harris. Woo! Just enough space for a truck to be able to fit through. Well, I don't think he went completely up and over, so maybe our camera survived. Let's see if we can go on board with 12th in points, Jeff Crivello. State Farm Insurance Dodge. Never went completely over. Pretty good hit there with the right front a couple of times. Boyd's roof damage though. Didn't go into a barrel roll. Then, ooh, that's not going to be good. Right into the Armco barrier there on the inside of 3 and 4. Straight into it. Don't know how that's going to play out as far as aero damage. Washing out for the first time here tonight. A big one on the back straightaway on lap 15. And with all the replays that we did, Pacing laps have completed. The lights are out atop the FRN Chevy Silverado pace truck. We're getting ready to go back racing with Brian Schilling out in front. Mark Paglia will line up second. Milt Surratt third. Pole sitter Billy Elviser fourth. And Josh Metallic the top five. Jeremy Jeffries will be sixth. Joe DeSpirito seventh. Jerm Lewis, Bob Seminara, and Bob Dixon. That is going to be the top 10. Terry Bombard, as mentioned, stayed out, led a lap, came to pit road. Looks like he's going to restart in 34th. We had a couple of drivers come to pit road a few times here under these pacing laps, including Doug Kulik, Grant Wesley, Rodney Sullins, Robbie Nices, Brian Rawson, Jeff Crivello, and Glenn Harris. We'll keep an eye on that half dozen drivers and see if they are going to be up to speed or not. I didn't see any impact, any hits in that wreck that said to me that any of these drivers are going to be off the pace, but with moderate damage at a super speedway, sometimes it's very finicky, and you never know until you finally get back under a green flag run. So we'll keep tabs on that as the flagman ready to get us back underway here. Lap 18 going to be completed. Lap 19 goes on the board for the former champ, Brian Schilling. While we got a moment of them getting up to speed before they get crazy again, let's talk about the bracket challenge coming into tonight. Who's facing off against who? It's Grant Wesley taking on Bob Seminara. Bobby Farrell faces off against Chuck McClure. Jeremy Jeffries is taking on Terry Bombard. Bernie Mobbs is facing up against Craig Hagley. Joe DeSpirito is taking on last week's winner Kelly Causey. Jason Scheck, he's against Dave Nelson. Brian Schilling will be moving on as Greg Palmer is not in the field here this evening. Wiley Coate is taking on Jessica Shelton. Round 2 of the bracket challenge going on. Winners will advance to round 3. I believe would be the quarterfinals. We saw Brian Schilling move up to the middle line, so did Milt Surratt. It didn't serve them as well as I think they were planning. Josh Metallic on the bottom with help from Joe DeSpirito is going to go to the point. Look at that third lane, though. Mark Paglia, Jeremy Jeffries, Jerm Lewis, they had some good momentum down the back. Let's see what they can do through 3 and 4. And this is why I went through the bracket challenge list when I did, because I knew this was going to happen. We're back to 3 wide racing, 8, 9 rows deep. Joe DeSpirito in that 24, keep an eye on him. DeSpirito always seems to get really hot during the second half of the regular season, and the first half of the regular season has not been kind to him. Joe DeSpirito comes into this race 25th in points. As a matter of fact, we almost had knockout qualifying here tonight, but with my broadcast colleague Michael Norman's absence, the 41 drivers that showed up are all able to race this evening. And if Joe DeSpirito would have been the last driver locked into the field, would not have had to go to knockout qualifying, since the top 25 each week are guaranteed that they are going to race. The top 25 in points, that is. And DeSpirito is that 25th driver. I should mention, though, that the gap between Joe DeSpirito and 12th in the point standings, it's not as bad as it would seem. He's only 33 points out, and that can easily be made up in these next 5 races. And of course, you can get up inside the top 20 in points and find victory lane. That makes your job even easier, as all was going on from about 5th and 6th place on back. Top 5 had been able to break away. They've now been reeled back in since by Donnie Garrett, Brian Schilling, and co. But still a lot of moving and shaking here in the middle of the pack. Mark Paglia jumping from the top to the middle. Ron Hagelin up there on the outside line leading that group, the Coca-Cola Chevy Silverado. Now he gets bailed out on by the KFC Chevy of Billy Elliser. Novsker trying to make something happen. Whoa, Doug Cady Throwing a block there on Chuck McClure, who was trying to take it to the outside and was 3 wide for a moment. McClure gonna tuck in line behind the Napa Auto Parts Cadillac Escalade. As soon as I say that, now he jumps down to the bottom with Bob Dixon. Gary Bombard will now pick up Doug Cady and Tim Knopfsker. And McClure was able to make passes on both Cady and Knopfsker. Passes them on the bottom and then jumps back up to the top to lead that outside line. Now going to pick up the slipstream of the 4 of Brian Schilling, who was also moved up there. I'll update on the drivers that were involved in the first caution of the evening, that big wreck on the back straightaway. Like everybody's good to go. Everybody is still up in this lead pack, appears to be up to speed. A little bit off of the last truck is Jeff Crivello. I don't know if that's necessarily aero damage coming into play. There's a thing where if you have a last truck in line, where it's very difficult without somebody behind you to stay in touch with the lead pack. Keep tabs on that, but he was about 2.5, 3 truck lengths off the back of the next highest running truck, which was Mike Mangialardi, the 029. Hopefully for Crivello, he's able to stay with the lead pack, and ooh, I think he's lost it. Yeah, he's definitely lost the draft now. That is not good. Mike Mangialardi, Doug Kulik, looks like they're trying to just stay in reach. For Crivello, I don't know if it's that near flip, the damage he got from that or not, or if it is just being that last truck in line in the pack. But he has lost the draft. He's going to need a yellow flag to catch back up. Not want this thing to keep going green, because this roaring pack of about 36, 37, 38 drivers is going to reel him in quite quickly. Metallic just ran his fastest lap of the race last time by, 48.008. And that's with being the lead truck. Normally, when you're out in front, you don't turn the faster lap times. The drivers that are back in the traffic, in the draft. It's got a little shimmy going on there with Wiley Coate in the Castrol Edge Dodge, and it looks like he might be bailing out onto the top line to let drivers by until that warp settles, getting to a safe spot in the field. One driver's hardships, another driver's gain right now. Jeff Crivello currently trying to stay in touch with the lead draft. The driver he had to worry about coming into tonight was Donnie Garrett. Garrett was 13th in points, only 2 points back. Right now, Donnie is running, well, he was in 6th. That outside line starting to make a charge, so unofficially he would be 8th right now. And then the other driver that was next in line would be Bob Seminara. He was 4 points behind the cut line. And there he is, currently running in the 3rd position behind Metallic and Despirito. But for how long? Because Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, Tim Knopfsker, that second lane is coming up to the front. Lost a little momentum there through 3 and 4. They'll look to gain it back here on the front stretch through the tri-oval. Going to try to get to that right rear quarter panel of Bobby Farrell. That would be a battle for 5th place. Here's another driver has lost the draft, Mike Mangialardi. Now the next truck that could be in danger of losing the draft if the trend continues would be the Sunoco Chevrolet of Cy Jones. And Roberts has slowly, methodically worked his way up into the top 5. He's 4th truck in line there in the 55. Behind him, Bobby Farrell in the 92. Bobby Farrell made it into the playoffs last season through consistency, led the point standings for quite a number of weeks in season 58. This year, Bobby Farrell not faring quite as well. He's tied for 28th in the point standings right now with Glenn Harris. But like I said, a lot can change between now and the checkered flag in the regular season finale, especially with the fact we've got that extra race to work with that we didn't have last year. that middle line, they are making progress, but visibly it is very slow progress. Schilling is just now alongside of Bobby Farrell. So it looks like they're gaining about half a truck length in about a lap and a half. The momentum is there, it's a slow, grueling process for them to eventually get up to the front. Now they're gonna get Schilling up to the right rear quarter panel of Ken Roberts, so within the next lap or so, he should be alongside the 55. Maybe could do it this time down the back straightaway if they can get the bumpers lined up. Well, we've seen that in the past here at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway, where the inside line is actually able to hold its own against the middle line. Middle line's not nearly as prominent here as it is at Talladega. A lot more drivers that will... Oh, man, that was close. Was there warp there that happened, or net code? Or was there just pure contact between, I think that was Nofsker and Farrell. That was close. I think that a lot of drivers, going back to what I was going to say, I think a lot of drivers, they like that inside line. And a lot of drivers, they go up to that second groove here just because, you know, you don't want to ride in line. You're not going to move forward because of that. They jump up to the second groove out of necessity to try and have momentum and try and improve their position. But I just don't think that the middle line is nearly as prominent here as it is at Talladega, which we'll be going back to next week for race number 7. Next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to join us for that. Should be about 7.5 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about making pit stops. And we're only about 5 laps away from green flag pit stops at the very start of this race before we end up having our first, up to this point, only caution of the evening. Let's see if these drivers are going to be able to make it on this run, on this stint, to where they will have to come to pit road. Based off projection, it'll be somewhere around between laps 38 to 40. That would put them about 5 laps short of making it to the finish. They'd have to make one more stop before the conclusion of this race. Surprised them not seeing a lot more drivers at the middle of the pack jumping down to the inside line in preparation for the upcoming pit stops. We're 3 wide back here. Glenn Harris, Wiley Coate, Milt Surratt. Got JT Mayhew back here. JT dropped a couple of spots and points after last week at Talladega, but still inside the top 10 in the standings, holding a playoff position. Not mentioned his name much here so far, as he did not start with good track position, rolled off the grid 37th, and right now he is, last time by, scored in 31st. Might be biding his time, might be waiting. See what happens as Jason Scheck on pit road in the 02. One would have to assume this is a regularly scheduled pit stop. Wait and see, but he's coming to pit road all by his lonesome. That is normally something you do not want to do at a super speedway. Remember, I said it wasn't going to take long for the big pack to reel in Jeff Crivello. You just saw there on that shot exiting turn number 2. Crivello was about 2/3 of the way down the back straightaway. They are fast approaching Crivello's Dodge, and he will end up falling a lap down more than likely unless a caution saves him. I'm hearing over the comms, 3 projected laps away from pit stops, so that is actually earlier than I was calculating. So next 2 or 3 laps, we're going to see drivers dive onto pit lane, which would make a call for Jason Scheck coming onto pit road, and just moments ago, Bob Dixon. That would make sense as to why that's going on. Oh, this is a sketchy area. You got the 02 on the bottom, the 56 on the top, and they're double wide, trying to literally snake their way through. It's almost like having the S's in turns 1 and 2 at a super speedway. That was quite interesting to see, but they all did maneuver their way through. Scheck's on the apron back there. I think he was trying to get out of the way of oncoming traffic, and they all get around him safely and cleanly. And here comes a bunch to pit road. Donnie Garrett, Jeremy Jeffries, Ron Hagelin, Jessica Shelton. Oh, Terry Bombard gets hit from behind by Chris Emery. And then Nathan Balser gets into Keith Bynum. All off the racing surface, no caution. Day under green. Jim Glaude a part of this group. Like Cy Jones was on pit road the lap previous. He's just now coming off of turn number 2. Radio lighten up. I think we're going to have most of our front runners here on pit road this time by, including race leader Josh Metallic, who's been out in front for a race high 16 laps. He's led pretty much the entirety of this second stint. Here he comes to pit road along with just about everybody else. Let's see if they all make it. Oh man, Espirito hard on the brakes there. Think they're all good. Yes, I think they all made it. Oh, John Godfrey, though. Actually, I thought Godfrey overshot his pit stall. He got into his pit stall. Greg Hagley overshot, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to change left side tires on that 32. He's right up against the wall. So who cycles out to the lead? Donnie Garrett came out at the front of that first big group that we saw in pit lane. They're not all that well organized right now. He's side by side with Farrell. Jeremy Jeffries going to catch up here. Got Jim Glaude and Jessica Shelton back there. I think they might be able to catch up, but you've got some two-truck tandems now taking place. Here comes the rest of that big pack off of pit road. Who won that battle? It was Metallic. Then Despirito, then Seminara. Same way that they came onto pit road, they come off of pit road. Watch up on the top of your screen here. There's Garrett and Jeffries. I don't think they're going to get the race lead. They might get up maybe into the top 5, but I don't think they're going to get the race lead. I think this group, at least up at the front of this group, they're going to be up to speed by the time they're caught. Yeah, Garrett and Jeffries, they're only going to make their way up to maybe, I don't know, 11th and 12th potentially. Going based off of how they crossed the start-finish line when they came off of pit road, that first big group. We'll see where Garrett crosses the line. It's like 10th or 11th, I think, is where he's going to be. Yeah, 11th place for Donnie Garrett, 12th place for Jeremy Jeffries. So they didn't gain a whole lot being that first group, but they are at least going to be up in this lead pack as Josh Metallic is going to cycle back out to where he was when the pit stops began, the race lead. What did I say? I think I said I had them, if they had to make the one more pit stop, they'd be 5 laps short. That number is obviously changed. These drivers now, I think they'd be about 8 or 9 laps short of making the scheduled distance. And Rodney Sullins appears to have gotten a penalty. He is back on pit road. Black Rifle Coffee Chevy Silverado. And scoring does indeed confirm this. Black flag penalty for Rodney Sullins, who cycled out to the 7th position. That is a tough break there. And he is going to need a caution to be able to get back into contention, as we've only had one yellow flag here tonight. That was back on lap 15. We went back green on lap 19 and have been green flag racing ever since. 20-lap run so far. About to be 21 when Josh Metallic comes around and completes this lap. Metallic about to lead his 18th lap of the night. That is the highest of the drivers so far this evening. Billy Ellis, their second highest in laps led, with 11. 4 laps led for Brian Schilling, 2 laps led for Dave Melson, and then 1 lap led apiece for Terry Bombard, Doug Hewlick, Milt Surratt, and Robbie Nisus. Not that many drivers have taken turns up at the front here this evening. If my calculations are correct, and if we stay green for the remainder of this race, or at least up until the final round of green flag pit stops, that final round of pit stops should take place somewhere in the vicinity of laps 56 to 59. Somewhere around between 7 to 10 laps to go, which means that for the majority, these drivers are only going to have to take on 1 can of fuel. Top 12 lead lap drivers up in this lead pack. You also got the lap machine of Mike Mangialardi. I think you also have the lap machine of Bobby Farrell. Yes, you do. Those two drivers right now would be in the free pass positions, as we only have 3 drivers 1 lap down, Farrell, Mangialardi, and Jeff Crivello. However, we're going to add a couple more drivers to that list, I think, in the next few laps. The 616 of Jerm Lewis is not that far ahead of the race leaders. There he is, as a matter of fact, in almost the same corner. He's going to go a lap down, and then not that much further ahead. I think you just barely saw the red truck going into turn 3. That's Rodney Sullins, who had to serve the pass-through penalty for the black flag he got on this most recent green flag pit stop. We're going to have about 4 drivers that will be battling it out for the 2 highest 1 lap down drivers if they do catch the 38. Of course, if a caution comes out now, then Rodney Sullins would remain on the tail end of the lead lap, and I think Farrell and Lewis would be the lucky dogs, as Lewis is going to tuck in front of the 029. Now we've got 12 lead lap trucks up in this group. Back to Jessica Shelton. This pack might get bigger because Ron Hagel, Chris Emery and company, they have been turning some really, really good lap times. The race leaders are running in the low 48s, 48.0s, 48.1s. This pack, they're running 47.8s. They are closing in quickly, about 2 to 3 tenths of a second every single lap. I believe they've caught the draft of Mike Mangialardi. So we're about to have a much bigger pack, which goes back to, I think that's John Godfrey in 26th. Bernie Mobbs and Jason Scheck might be able to latch on as well. So that would be 28 trucks up in this lead pack. And there you see, that second group has caught the first group. And I think these drivers realize it in this lead pack. Now they're starting to go double wide, realizing that there's a lot of positions that are coming up the pike, and they need to improve their position now so that way they can defend it once they're caught. Jeremy Jeffries, Dave Melson, and Jim Glau jumping down there to that inside line. Here comes Hagelin and Chris Emery. They're on the bottom. Where do they take this momentum when they catch up to the top 12? Let's actually stay back here with this battle. Jeremy Jeffries hoping that momentum pushes him forward. Hagelin and Paglia stay low. Chris Emery jumped up to the middle groove with Jerm Lewis. Might be trying to help Jerm Lewis stay in a free pass position. Remember, we've documented Jerm Lewis and Chris Emery. They're teammates. We've seen them work together in past seasons. Right now, Jerm Lewis in the second lucky dog spot as things run right now. Bobby Farrell in the first, and now Rodney Sullins. We'll have to see where the 38 slots in as he's been caught, and he gets put a lap down. 3 wide here. Rodney just trying to find a place in line. Mark Paglia jumps up to the middle groove, and looks like maybe the 38 can tuck in line here in front of Mangialardi. Nope, not quite. Still trapped up on that outside line, 3 wide, and now looks like he's going to get in front of Ken Roberts. This group catching up, this second group catching up, has allowed Jeff Crivello to get up in the conversation for a lucky dog as well. He was back there with Bernie Mobbs, and now he's up in this lead draft. So you've got Farrell, Lewis, Sullins, Mangialardi, and Crivello, 5 drivers that are going to be mixing it up for those top 2 lucky dog positions. Got about half a racetrack before we get to the next driver on the tail end of the lead lap. You got a group of 3 that are midway down the back straightaway. Nate Balser, Cy Jones, and Keith Bynum. That's 34th through 36th. But yeah, they're running about 25 seconds ahead of the race leaders. And it takes a lot longer, even for a big pack, to reel in 3 or 4 trucks than it does one truck by itself. And now we've got to move for the lead. Joe DeSpirito go by the 39 of Josh Metallic. Bob Seminara is going to push him. Now remember though, Metallic, I think he might be wanting to make sure that he gets to come to pit road with the group that he came to pit road with the first time. And you might not be able to do that if you're out in front the entirety of this run. You're going to find yourself maybe a half lap or a full lap shorter than everybody else. So not sure if that was the 24 making the move or if that was the 39 saying, I got to drop back. I got to get in this draft and try saving a little bit. Go on ahead. Whichever the case, it was the 24 out in clean air. Moves Seminara up to second. Schilling, Nofsker, and McClure now the top 5. Remember when I mentioned the fact that we ended up having all 5 of our previous race winners from the season starting outside of the top 30? We've got 3 of them now up inside of the top 6. Nofsker is 4th, McClure is 5th, and Grant Wesley is 7th. Jeremy Jeffries is up here in 11th place. The only one we're missing is Kelly Causey, but he's up inside the top 15. He crossed the line 15th place last time by. Dave Melson, Jeremy Jeffries, up on the outside line. This is the segment of the race that the drivers call preparing for the pit stops, where you try and get that extra 1, 2, 3 spots on the racetrack. That could translate to track position once that final pit stop is completed. That outside line looks pretty well organized right now. That little push through the tri-oval, that's not easy to do. Got the dreaded bumper grab that could take place. Jeremy Jeffries, I don't think there was any daylight between his front bumper and the back bumper of Dave Melson. A lot of trust goes into something like that. Josh Metallic is up there as well in that top line. I believe he's got the lap led bonus point locked up here for most laps led. 25 laps led for Josh Metallic here this evening as he's falling further back now. Are we under caution? We are. The yellow flag is out. I was just noticing they spread out. Yellow flag is out about 5 laps away, 5, 6 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about making that final pit stop under green. And it looked like 2 of the 3 drivers that were near the very tail end of the lead lap might have been the reason for this. Cy Jones in the 7 and Nate Balser in the 079 I saw over there on the apron of the tri-oval. Remember, they were in a trio with Keith Bynum. There they are on the apron. I'm going to assume it might have possibly been what I was just mentioning, bumper grab. But we will find out, and now that takes the fuel concern and completely throws it out the window. Everybody's going to be able to make it on fuel. And for those wondering who ended up winning the battle as far as the lucky dog positions, Rodney Sullins and Bobby Farrell appear to be the 2 drivers that were the first ones 1 lap down. They will receive the waiver round via the lucky dog here under the second caution of the night. Let's go back and see what happened. I think I saw some skid marks there off of turn 4 heading into the tri-oval. That might have been from the 7 and the 079. Oh, wow. Actually had a truck catch air. Second truck to catch air tonight. Crivello was the first. Ty Jones, the most recent. Oh, wow. Nate Balser also caught some air, and yep, that's internet connection problems right there. Warp is a very interesting anomaly in NR 2003. I've seen different warps in different directions. You've got your usual side-by-side shimmy, but there's also a point where there's a warp where a truck will warp backwards. There's also been a case where I've seen where a truck will warp forwards. This is a case of the backwards warp. Balser warps back into the nose of Cy Jones. Goes for a spin through the tri-oval. Cy Jones down onto pit road and through the infield grass. Gets the thing refired. Keith Bynum was able to get through all of that. Now, one thing I am going to be curious about here, we'll wait and we'll check scoring when it eventually cycles around. It's race back at 15 to go in this series. We are not at that point yet. However, the 7 and the 079 both were not able to make it back to the start-finish line before they were put a lap down. Now, would they stay a lap down, or would they be able to go around and get their laps back, since they were technically ahead of the leaders at the time of caution? And if they're not, does that then mean that if they get put a lap down, that knocks Rodney Sullins and Bobby Farrell out of the lucky dog positions? We're gonna wait and see how that all cycles around. Sullins is hitting pit road. Take the opportunity to give a little love to the FRN pace truck, the Chevy Silverado pace truck here that you'll see for the remainder of the season. Pacing the field here in the RTG Talladega Challenge Series. A big shout out to Bernie Mobbs for painting this beauty. Got Rolling Thunder Gaming there on the back window. FRN green and white all over this truck. Didn't get a chance to really see this truck until they gridded up. Unfortunately, in the practice, qualifying, and happy hour sessions, the pace car or pace truck does not sit at the head of pit road. This is really, really cool. Let's see, actually. There you go. Look at that. Unfortunately, we don't have a camera that shows the side. There you go. There's the front. How about even to the headlights there on the front flashing? That is cool. Once again, big time thank you to Bernie Mobbs for that amazing pace truck. Now the pace truck's going to keep us under pacing here for a few moments. Jeff Crivello in the 56. I think he might be looking to take the wave around. But he is going to need a quick yellow if this is going to work out for him, because remember when we had the caution come out, drivers were only about 5-6 laps away from when they were going to have to pit. Crivello, I would think he would probably, when we go back green, have to pit within 3 or 4 laps. He's planning on maybe getting a quick yellow, get back in the lead lap. Here come the Lucky Dogs, and they are Bobby Farrell and Rodney Sullins. So what it said at the timing of the caution is what is officially going to be the case. Sullins Farrell will get the Lucky Dogs. Jeff Crivello will get the wave around. And that will leave us with 35 drivers on the lead lap. Correction, 37 drivers on the lead lap of 40 running. We have one driver that has officially retired from the race. And maybe this was what happened. Maybe it wasn't warp. It looked like warp. But it might have actually been a mechanical failure for Nathan Balser, who is in the garage area with an engine gearbox retirement reason. So maybe the engine went south on the 079, which would give the indication, the look of a backwards warp. That's when he ended up getting the bump from Cy Jones. So potentially that might have been why the second caution was waving. The way they'll rack up when we go back green with 12 laps to go. Joe DeSpirito out in front, Brian Schilling in second. Those two drivers are still looking for their first wins on the season. Chuck McClure and Grant Wesley are both looking for their second. They make up row number 2. Donnie Garrett, he's in 5th. Bob Seminara in 6th. Dave Melson in 7th. Tim Knopfsker 8th. Josh Metallic is 9th, and Mark Paglia completes top 10. Looking for 2 in a row is Kelly Causey. He's going to restart in 11th. Jim Glaude in 12th. 13th will be Terry Bombard. Jeremy Jeffries in 14th. Glenn Harris 15th. There's Jessica Shelton, JT Mayhew, Wiley Coate, John Godfrey, and Billy Elliser. That is the top 20 as we get ready to go back green. Again, 40 drivers still running. 37 of them currently on the lead lap. Only one driver behind the wall, that being the truck of Nathan Balser. We've worked 2 cautions so far here tonight for a total of 8 laps, and we're getting ready here for a 12-lap shootout at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway. Appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Should be in for a good finish here for the completion of race number 6. As through this long tri-oval, Flagman makes him wait. And Joe DeSpirito's Chevrolet going to get us back underway here. Question is, what are we racing to? Are we racing to the next caution, or are we racing to the white flag? No, we're not racing to pit road anymore. Everybody can make it, with the exception of Crivella, who took the wave around. Everything looks good mid-pack. Got a report that I believe it was the 143 of Bob Dixon was missing a gear. There was the possibility there could have been some stack up in the middle of the pack, but everybody has been able to traverse through safely. And Brian Schilling, Grant Wesley on that outside line. He edges ahead out of turn number 4. Does the momentum stay with that top line? Yes, it does. Schilling is clear to the race lead. Grant Wesley now side by side for second with DeSpiritos. Look at the jostling mid-pack. Loud up to the top line, 3 wide. Nobody's going with him. There is a third line forming further back. I believe that is Richard Martin in the 43. I think he's got Milt Surratt there with him. I can't tell who that third truck is. Might be Billy Elliser, actually. Try to see if they can get something going. You got to go where they ain't if you're going to move forward here in super speedway racing. Now they are 3 wide, about 5 rows deep back there. Godfrey jumps up to help that third lane. That's going to stifle out the middle lane a little bit here. That might help the inside line, now led by Grant Wesley. Ryan Schilling's got Bob Seminara with him. I probably think if he has the chance, he's going to want to move down that middle line. The trouble with super speedway racing is you can only see so many trucks on your F2, and you can only be aware of really what's going on in your general vicinity. If that middle line is dying out further back, you just don't know it until that middle, or the inside or outside line starts to get a run on you and it's too late. But the commitment to the middle line is going to work out for Brian Schilling. Seminara, Knopfsker, and Paglia all clear. And look at the move there by Jeremy Jeffries. Moving down on Mark Paglia for the 4th spot. Seminara's going to jump down there. Is he going to have enough momentum to take the race lead? Yes, he is. He's going to get alongside of Schilling going into 1. McClure's going to jump up to the middle line in front of Jessica Shelton. A lot of moving and shaking up here inside of the top 10. Remember, we do have lap trucks. So if the caution comes out at any point past the completion of lap 62, race will more than likely end under yellow. Shelton jumps up to the 3rd group with John Godfrey and Richard Martin. And now that middle line is losing numbers. There's only 5 trucks in that middle line. Schilling, Knopfsker, Paglia, McClure, and Jim Glaude. They're going to start losing some momentum unless they can get those bumpers really lined up. They're shoving through the tri-oval. 4-way tandem with the 4, the 088, the 28, and the 17. That's what they're going to have to do if they're going to stay up here at the front. That third line with Shelton, kind of what we saw earlier with the middle group, slow momentum moving forward. And now they got a truck up ahead. That is Jeff Crivello, who did have to come to pit road. The wave around strategy did not work for the driver 12th in points. He's going to get put a lap down here, and they're 3 wide. This is going to be really sketchy over in 3 and 4. Turn 4 is the worst place to be 4 wide. I think they're going to get through it okay, though. We got very lucky that that was in the center of the corner and not on exit. And look at the momentum that helped Jessica Shelton pick up, even though she was trying to dart out of the way of the 56. He's going to get alongside of Paglia and Wesley. That's 3 wide for 5th. Now 3 wide for 3rd with Jeffries and Knopfsker. Big push from John Godfrey. We could be 3 wide for the lead when we get to the back straightaway here, if that momentum continues on the top side. Watch the momentum of each respective line. Middle line's got to push. Outside line's got to push. I think middle line might be just a little bit faster this time down the back straightaway. But now the inside line mounts a counterattack, and they're going to edge ahead going into 3. 3 wide, all the way back through this pack. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows deep of 3 wide racing here as we hit the line for 6 to go at BSR. Oh, you want them to keep it together until the finish. But you know that just one little mistake could have catastrophic results. Seminara out hit front, trying to hold off some former winners, Jeremy Jeffries and Grant Wesley. Wesley won race number 2. Jeremy Jeffries, I believe, won race number 4. Yes, he did. And now they're going to jump the outside of Seminara. Jeffries is going to go to the points. Wesley into 2nd. Not quite clear, though, on Seminara. Now he is off of turn number 4. Schilling moves to 3rd. Knopfsker trying to take 4th. Oh, Knopfsker gets turned! And we're going to have a big wreck in the middle of the triangle. Caution's out. I believe the race is over. Oh my gosh, Metallic and Crivello. Crivello's just got flung into the infield. Caution's out for the 3rd and potentially final time tonight. And Jeremy Jeffries was the leader. They came around to start lap 62. The pace truck is picking them up. I think the race may be over, but I'm not 100% certain because we didn't complete lap 62. We may be looking at a 1-lap shootout, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what the case is. If the race ends under yellow, Jeffries has picked up his 2nd win in 3 races and becomes the first multi-time winner on the season. Wesley, Schilling, Seminara, and Shelton were the top 5 when they all crossed the line. That was the big one times 2. That was the bigger one. And Josh Metallic, who led the most laps here tonight, was right in the middle of it. Had a weird warp wreck there with Jeff Crivello, and you can see the end result, smoke pouring from beneath the Tony Kanaan livery. Some drivers here are trying to figure out where their positions are. They took the caution, spinning and flipping across the start finish line. I think they're all trying to figure out where they're exactly supposed to be. A lot of confusion going on here. Oh, well, they figure that out. Let's figure out exactly what happened. I think Knopfsker is going to get turned in the tri-oval. Truck behind him was Mark Paglia. Knopfsker was unofficially in the 5th position. Honestly, hard to tell there if it was a bad bump. They were so close together. I don't know if maybe Knopfsker lifted a little since he was right on the back bumper of Brian Schilling. That was just really tight drafting there. Very little room for error. Much like we had with our first big one back on lap 15, we're going to be looking at a lot of replay shots of what went down here through the tri-oval and coming to the start-finish line. And we had, I believe, 3 trucks up to this point that had caught air. We can add a number of others to the list. Katie gets airborne, Terry Bombard goes up and over, Keith Bynum goes up and over, Johnny Garrett caught some air. Another truck that was up against the outside retaining wall that went up and over. I couldn't tell who it was. It might have been Glenn Harris in the 8. Take a look and see. Oh no, it was Chuck McClure in the 17. Jason Scheck back there. I saw his back end go up into the air. Look at the pace truck. Did you see the pace truck flying through that? It was boogieing to pick up the field. And here's the weirdest part of the wreck. We're going to focus on the 39 and the 56. Crivello was a lap down after he had to pit. Taking the wave around did not work out, had to pit under green, and watch this. Thinks he hasn't missed. Here's the 39. Look how it just grabs Crivello. Just gonna say, the 39 is sponsored by Geico, the 56 is sponsored by State Farm. I think we just had an insurance battle. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure who won. See if we can get a wide fan view of the wreck. Katie's Cadillac Escalade caught a lot of air. Wreck, I think, at this point has already taken place, and look at this. Watch the pace truck. Neo. Well, basically, just look for your favorite driver, see if they got through. Let's find out if we are going back green or if we are ending this race under yellow. Lights are still on. The pace truck. So we are coming to 2 to go. If we are going back green, the lights will have to go out this time, and it will be a one-lap shootout. But here's the thing. If we do have a one-lap shootout, this still could be advantage Jeremy Jeffries, because we've had a couple of one-lap shootouts before in the past here, and drivers say there's just not enough time to be able to get some momentum wound up to be able to make a move. Got 3 laps, 4 laps when the trucks are up to full speed, then there's an opportunity, but it's very difficult to do. So we had a wreck back there with Wiley Coate, and lights are out. Jerm Lewis gets the lucky dog. Mike Mangialardi, I believe, should be getting the lucky dog as well, but he's still back there. As in the closing stages, 2 drivers back in the garage area for what we just saw. They are, oh, the lights are back on the pace truck. I'm wondering what just happened. Did someone stop on the racetrack? We would have gone back green. Would have gone back green. I don't know what just happened, but they waved it off, so the race is going to end under yellow. Oh, man. That's a shame. It would have been really cool to see this race end under green, but Jeremy Jeffries is not going to argue with the fact that the race is going to end under yellow, because that means he is going to get his second win on the season. Let's see if we can find out why this was waved off. Was it the Wiley Coate incident? I thought I saw the lights go off, even though that wreck had taken place. Oh, wait a minute. I just found it. Yep, here it is. Robbie Nisus in the 54. The lights had gone out. At this point, the pace car had crossed the line, and Robbie Nisus gets into the 5 of Wiley Coate. And there you see the caution lights come back on. But we will not get the one-lap shootout. Race will end under yellow, and will be Jeremy Jeffries going to victory lane for the second time this season. Late retiree, it looks like, Chris Emery in the 000. An engine gearbox issue there under pacing, so that's a tough break. He was, I think, poised to finish in 17th. And he is going to more than likely finish at least in 37th, maybe 38th, depending on if Ty Jones is able to get scored ahead of him. The white flag was just displayed that last time by. Jeremy Jeffries, 2.66 miles away from claiming his second win on the season. Jeremy, of course, when he ended up winning, I asked him, as I've asked just about every driver that has gone to victory lane this season, what are you more focused on now, going back to victory lane as many times as possible in the regular season or winning that regular season championship? More often than not, all the drivers have answered they want to get those bonus points for the regular season championship. Well, Jeremy is 48 points behind points leader Grant Wesley coming into tonight, 8th in points. He's certainly going to gain a lot of position. Oh no, Grant! Ooh, gosh. I was just about to say he's going to gain a lot of positions, but he may not necessarily gain a whole lot of points on Grant Wesley, with Grant slated to finish in 2nd. And as soon as I say that, the 88 disappeared for a moment, so I think I won't say Grant's name for the next quarter of a lap. Gonna be some good points days, though, for some of our other finishers here tonight. Bob Seminara, 14th in points. This might move him up into a playoff spot inside of the top 12 heading into Talladega next week. Jessica Shelton right now at 21st in points. Right now in the 5th position. And Richard Martin, I just noticed, is up here as well. He is slated to finish in 7th. And Richard came into this race 40th in points. You also have John Godfrey there, who's 45th in points, who's going to finish in 6th. So some good points nights for drivers that really, really needed it. But Jeremy Jeffries, the Oreos are double stuffed because he is a double winner in the Season 59 Talladega Challenge Series. He crosses the line to pick up win number 2 here this evening at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. As a matter of fact, that is back-to-back victories in his last 2 starts here at this racetrack. Oh, I think Jeremy Jeffrey, I always say there's always one that gives a congratulatory bump and it spins the winner out. I think somebody did. Gave a congratulatory bump to the racetrack. Oh, well, actually, how about this? The winner's doing the spinning. Gonna loop around the John Deere Chevrolet. And a little drift there after a bump from Tim Nofsker. Well, Jeremy Jeffries, the last time that we were here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, started from the 39th position. He led 3 laps and went on to win the race. Here tonight, Jeremy Jeffries started from 41st position, shotgun on the field. Led 6 laps to pick up the victory. So in back-to-back Burnt Screwdriver Raceway events, Jeremy Jeffries has effectively had to come from last to first, and he has managed to do just that. So if the random qualifying puts Jeremy Jeffries at the tail end of the field in 2 weeks' time when we come back here to Burt Screwdriver's Raceway, look out field, because apparently starting at the very back is Jeremy Jeffries' strong suit at this particular racetrack. Burning it down here at Burt Screwdriver's Raceway. Truck number 1 finishes P1, and the streak of 5 straight different drivers going to victory lane is snapped with Jeremy Jeffries' victory here tonight. We'll be talking with him and the other podium finishers in just a moment. Let's take a look at the full finishing results. Caution came out with the wreck right at the start-finish line. So timely for some, untimely for others. We ran you down through the top 5. Actually, we ran you down through the top 7. Dave Melson going to finish in 8th. Ron Hagelin, good run there in 9th. And Milt Surratt is going to complete the top 10. JT Mayhew, saw him running towards the back for a majority of the first half of this race. 11th place run there for him, so that should keep him up inside the top 12 in points. Keith Bynum in 12th. Donnie Garrett there in 13th. This is going to be interesting to see what happens as far as who moves in, who falls out of the top 12, because Crivello suffered a DNF here tonight, but Seminara and Garrett, who were the next two outside of the top 12, both with good finishes this evening. Maybe Chris Emery falls out of the top 12. He was pretty close to the cut line. Chuck McClure's going to get 15, so I think he stays above the cut line. So it might be Seminara and Garrett in, and it might be Emery and Crivello that fall out. But we'll, of course, wait for official scoring with the points that are all compiled. Keith Bynum brings it home there in 12th position. Remember, we saw him avoid the incident in that 3-truck pack he was with Nate Balser and Cy Jones. So great run for him. Donnie Garrett there, 13th. Mentioned that we'll probably see him up inside the top 12 in points heading next week. Terry Bombard brings home in 14th, and Chuck McClure in 15th. Those are two drivers where the timing of the caution helped them because they were both involved in the wreck, as was Doug Cady, who got airborne. But since they slid across the start-finish line taking the caution, they got their track position back of where they were scored when they slid across the line. And so they finish up inside the top 16 as a result. Glenn Harris in 17th, Joe DeSpirito in 18th, Nofsker, who was the one that got spun to start the wreck, 19th, and Rodney Sullins got the lucky dog, was able to mount a comeback for 20th place here tonight. Here's a look at the rest of the finishing results from this evening. Mark Paglia finishes last truck on the lead lap in 33rd. Brian Rawson, Cy Jones, 1 lap down apiece. Emery, we mentioned he had the mechanical problem there in the closing stages under pacing. 36th place is where he'll finish. Jerm Lewis, Mike Mangialardi, 2 laps down apiece. I believe neither one of them made it back to the checkered flag, and neither did Josh Metallic, Jeff Crivello, or Nathan Balser. They all finished back behind the wall before the conclusion of this evening's race. Well, as we now head into our post-race wind-down, it is time to talk with our podium finishers here this evening. And let's kick things off with the driver that brings it home in the 3rd position. He's been very consistent this year. Let's talk with Brian Schilling. Hey, Brian, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, we were thinking that maybe we were going to see something happen there with the 3 wide several rows deep that was going to have catastrophic results. We saw we called it the biggest one out of the 2 wrecks that we had here tonight. Unfortunate timing, though, with the fact it took place in the tri-oval, you guys taking the caution there, and we never got back green. If it had been in another portion of the track, say going into turn 1, was there anything you were able to do? Because it looked like your truck was one of the best pushing trucks there in the closing stages.
Actually, after I cleared, my plan was after getting out of the tri-oval, I was going to go low and try to make a move down there. Because usually the center line gets pulled back from the when it's 3 wide, the outside line pulls the center line back, and usually the low line will prevail. So, but I never had the opportunity because the wreck happened right behind me.
We were talking about the consistency that this Ford truck has had this year. 4 out of 6 races inside of the top 4. Another podium finish here tonight. Obviously, We know that a lot of drivers, they're gunning for the regular season point standings. This is going to move you up closer to that conversation as well. But you've been in the conversation for wins several times here this season. Do you get the feeling that it's about to happen at some point here during the regular season? This four truck's finally going to find victory lane?
I would hope so. I keep putting myself in a good spot. And that's the biggest thing. You got to put yourself up there to have a chance. So sometimes it works out great, sometimes it doesn't. I needed to stay green to have a better chance, but I'm walking away with a third place finish. I'm perfectly happy with that.
We talk about the fact that this is basically the home stretch of the regular season. We've now entered into the final 5 races before we put the playoff grid together. Obviously, if you're a driver that's down around that cut line, either the cut line driver, just below, just above, there's a lot of pressure here in these final 5 races. But for a driver like you that right now is comfortably up there towards the top of the point standings, you know that if you stay in the top 12 in points, you're battling for a playoff position. Do you feel any sort of pressure here tonight and heading into these final 4 races in any way, shape, or form?
Absolutely, because these fields are still full. So one bad move by myself, I get caught up in something, my motor blows up, I get a point. I get a point or maybe 2 points. So that's huge. Looking at it, I've got maybe a 50-point lead on 10th place right now. So one bad race puts me, potentially, net loss of, 40 points to that guy in 10th.
Well, we saw with the big field here tonight, every single one of the podium drivers, none of them started up inside of the top 20 here this evening. All three of you had to work for it. We've seen for the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've seen full fields. How difficult is it when you have that many drivers on the grid, regardless of where you end up getting placed in the random qualifying, to be able to formulate a strategy? At least it's especially in the early going. I think things probably would get a little bit clearer towards the end of the race, but for the initial strategy, how difficult is it for doing that?
Oh, it's definitely not easy. You basically there's nights where every line that I pick does not work. You just keep whatever ground you do make up, you lose it, have to start over again. Other nights you just pick a line and you just sail right up there, in the top 20, and then you can start making some moves to gain even more track position. So it's so tough, especially when it gets 3 wide. You get you're log jammed. You can't go anywhere. So you got to hope green flag pit stops. Get a good pit stop and just try to play that strategy then.
Well, another great performance for you here tonight. Another solid finish up inside of the top 5. Congratulations on the third place performance here tonight. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
All right. Thank you to the owners. Sean Prime, miss you. Hope to see you back, soon here racing. Superstar David Cannon. Thank you to Josh, Wiley, Tim, Jason, all the other admins, everything they do week in, week out. Thank you to everybody that donates, everybody that shows up. Thank you guys for putting this on. Congratulations to Jeremy and Grant. Stop beating me.
That's Brian Schilling. He gets third place here tonight. He'll look to have the 1 and the 88 in his rearview mirror next week when we go to Talladega. But for now, enjoy the good finish and best of luck next week as we continue down this home stretch.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
3 different manufacturers finished up inside of the top 3 here tonight. Schilling in a Dodge, Wesley in a Toyota, Jeremy Jeffries in a Chevrolet. Highest finishing Ford was Terry Bombard in the 14th position. I believe we've got Grant Wesley, our second place finisher, on standby. Let's talk with him now. Hey, Grant, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Yes, I do. I got you.
Oh, we've seen this particular racetrack have very interesting timing and when it throws cautions. Go all the way back to the first time this track debuted. Caution comes out, and the race leader was just coming off pit road. Only had to make about 200 feet to the start finish line. Here tonight, we entered close to that point of no return. Caution comes out with the wreck taking place in the tri-oval. The race leaders obviously crossed the line. A lot of drivers upside down on their sides, finishing in certain positions, picking up that yellow flag. But we ended up getting there to that point of no return. The caution comes out. We had the opportunity for a one-lap shootout. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. We've heard from drivers in the past. They say that you have to wait about a lap or two for these trucks to get up to full song before you can generate any kind of momentum to make a move. Was that the case that you were feeling when we had that chance for a one-lap shootout, or did you have some kind of a strategy where you'd be able to make a move for this win?
I'm not really too upset that that caution came out because uh, the guy I was against in the bracket series, Bob Seminara, he was going to restart right behind me, and starting in the second lane. I mean, he was just going to go to the third lane and try to put me in the middle. I mean, of course, my strategy was to keep my truck in front of his. I was going to try to move up. I'm not really so sure that I wasn't really looking at a second place finish. I don't think. I think I was going to be lucky to get a top five given that scenario. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's crazy how like this track in particular, just those cautions just happen the way they do.
I love how you drivers are able to multitask. I think I mentioned the bracket series lineup here tonight, and I never mentioned it again. You guys have that in the back of your mind the entirety of the race. One thing that we pointed out, 5 different race winners in the first 5 races coming into tonight, and none of you, based off the random qualifying, started inside the top 30. You rolled off the grid from the 34th position. Obviously, having that win in the bank has got to mean a lot, but I mean, how difficult is it when you are trying to get that second victory to work your way up there to the front of the field? Because I think it was after maybe the first 20 laps we then saw you make your way up into the top 10. It kind of seemed like whatever lane you were picking, it wasn't really moving forward.
Yeah, usually I don't mind starting towards the back. You get into 35th or 34th on back, and you get that crappy pit stall where you have to pretty much cram the brakes. You can barely hot pit, in some cases, and that's the only thing that really hurts you. But I mean, I don't mind starting towards the back. But yeah, you're right. Tonight, I went straight to the third lane off the start of the race, and I made up a lot of track position. I climbed up halfway through the field within like 3 or 4 laps, and everything was going good. And then the line just stalled out, and then I tried the middle, and then I went, got sucked all the way to the back again, and yeah, nothing was really working out tonight. And I think it was after halfway through the race. I told a few guys I was just gonna stay out of that third lane for the rest of the race and just bounce back and forth from the first to the second lane, um, which I think is kind of what I did, and it eventually worked out for me that way.
Obviously came into this race with the points lead. I believe it was 20 points over your next competitor. Um, it's escaping me right now. I think it was Metallic was second in points coming into tonight. The points lead extends 25 points now over new second place driver Brian Schilling with this runner-up finish. Obviously, the consistency is there. So, is that what you're looking for? Is the consistency up inside the top 5 here down the home stretch, or are you still of that mentality? If you're in a position to win it, you're going to try and make that move, try and get that checker flag, especially now that we've got a multi-time winner here in Jeremy Jeffries, who's going to be carrying those extra bonus points into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I talked about this before. I'm going to miss 2 races. I'm going to miss the final race of the regular season and then the first race of the chase. So that's going to put me in a bind. My strategy is basically I want a 40-point buffer on everybody behind me. That's going to be very difficult to achieve. But, I've had a pretty good season up to this point. I've had several top fives, and I know I've been up here talking with you quite a bit. So I hope to keep that up on the remainder of the regular season. Kind of looking at the points, yeah, Brian Schilling, he's tough, man. That guy's so consistent. I mean, it's really going to be hard to keep stretching a lead on him. I don't really think it's going to keep up there, but it looks like third and fourth, I've got that 40-point buffer. So, maybe after I miss a race, I'll still be in the top 2 or 3.
Well, Grant, another great performance for you here tonight. Second place here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations. You keep that points lead going into Talladega next week. Before we go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Yeah, congratulations to Jeremy Jeffries on that second win of the season. That's pretty awesome stuff. Also, shout out to Bob Seminara, my bracket buddy there. It was a hard fight. He was up there. We were nose to tail the whole last run there, the last 20 laps it seemed like, and it was definitely a hard fought finish for the bracket. Um, I'd like to thank the owners here, Sean Prime, David Cannon, all the admins here on Thursday night, Josh, Wiley, and Tim. FRN, Seth, you're a lone soldier tonight. But man, I know you did good, so I'm looking forward to watching that. I'd like to thank my teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
That's Grant Wesley, continues to be your points leader heading into next week as we continue down this home stretch of the regular season. Congratulations on another great run, Grant. Best of luck next week.
Yep, thanks.
Heard Grant Wesley talk about the consistency he's had this year in the 6 starts that he's made here in season 59. He has had 4 finishes inside of the podium, including his victory right here at BSR back in race number 2. He has not had a finish outside of the top 15. 14th is his worst finish. He actually leads in average finishing position in these 6 races with an average finishing position of 6th place. Brian Schilling not that far behind at an average finishing position of 8.8. Let's see if we can get the guy, though, that is the only 2-time winner on the season here. 6 races into the season. Let's see if we can dial up driver of truck number 1, Jeremy Jeffries. Hey, Jeremy, Seth up here in the FRN booth. Got me?
I do, Seth. How are you doing?
Well, I'll tell you, you kind of had to shift gears there mentally. Had to prepare for what was going to be a 1-lap shootout, and then it gets waved off. Caution comes back out, and you don't have to worry about that. But did you have some kind of plan in mind? Because we have seen in the past drivers that start as the race leader on the 1-lap shootout, not a whole lot of momentum can be generated by other lines. As long as you're able to defend that inside line, you can probably make it back around to the start finish line. But you have any kind of a strategy in mind to keep them all at bay there for that final 2.66 miles if we had run it under green?
Well, my plan was to stay at the bottom and hope that Schilling pushed the heck out of me because I know that the 2 guys on the outside line were racing each other for the bracket. So I didn't think they would work together very well.
Now, I was mentioning the fact the last 2 times we've been here at BSR, you've gone to victory lane, but you've done it from the back. You started 39th 2 weeks ago. You started 41st here tonight. So in 2 weeks' time, when we come back here, are you hoping that the random qualifying gods put you at the back again or something? Because this seems to be a very interesting trend.
I will start every race in the back of the field if it ends up like this. It's funny, though, because the first race we did at BSR, I actually started first, and then the next 2 I won.
So this track obviously has been very helpful to you. Obviously, congratulations being the first multi-time winner on the season. So does this change the goals for this number 1 truck in these final 4 races of the regular season?
I don't know. I guess I should just go win more because Grant just keeps pulling out farther and farther away from everybody with that points lead.
Obviously, as well, there's an art to super speedway racing. You've done it twice now from the back to the front at this racetrack. What is it that you most rely on to be able to get from the back to the front? Is it finding teammates? Is it just being able to see the momentum where the lines are? Is it green flag pit stops? Because we've seen a number of drivers, including yourself, be able to get a huge net gain between the start of the cycle of pit stops and the conclusion.
Tonight, I can most definitely tell you it was not green flag pit stops. I had to be so slow coming onto pit road to get in that last stall there. But it's just a lot of times making the right moves. You can kind of study who's in what lane and when the checkups occur, and you can just kind of try to anticipate it. Sometimes you anticipate it right, sometimes you anticipate it wrong, but a lot of it is just trying to figure out which lines are going to go and get your truck there right when that checkup happens or right when that push comes from behind.
Well, a lot of positive things here tonight. First multi-time winner on the season. Obviously jumping up in the point standings as well. 3rd in points heading into next week and moving on in the next round of the bracket challenge as well. So a nice trifecta for you here this evening at BSR. Congratulations on the job well done. Before we let you go, we're handing the mic over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
First off, thank you to the caution gods there. I went back and looked at the replay, and I really don't know why the caution came out when it did, but I'm very thankful that it did. FRN, thanks for the broadcast. I can't wait to go watch it. I know you're up here by yourself, but I'm sure you did a heck of a job. To Sean Prime and David Superstar Cannon. Just keeping this place going. All the peeps, the admins out here, that staff members that keep things flowing and put on these great races. All the drivers that just are out there racing so hard and making it so much fun. Rodney for my awesome Oreo car, or Oreo truck, I should say, that's won the last 2 races at BSR. And John Goffrey and Rodney for getting this truck together and getting it on our schedule. And gosh, I don't know, so many people thank my XFM teammates, friends, family, everybody watching out there, and hope to do it again here next week.
Absolutely. That's Jeremy Jeffries. He looks to keep the momentum train moving. Second win on the season. Second win in the last 3 weeks here in season 59 of the Talladega Challenge Series. Congratulations. Go enjoy your victory, and best of luck next week when we head back to the high banks of Talladega.
Thank you, Seth.
Jeremy Jeffries going to be moving on in his round of the bracket challenge. Going to see if I can quickly eyeball all of who is going to be moving on to round 3, the quarterfinals. We heard from Grant Wesley. He's moving on, besting Bob Seminara. Believe Chuck McClure, he is indeed going to move on over Bobby Farrell. Jeremy Jeffries, our race winner, obviously is moving on over Terry Bombard. Bernie Mobbs, I believe. Double check on this. Yes, Bernie Mobbs. Best Craig Hagley. Joe DeSpirito. He is... Yep, he's going to move on over Kelly Causey. Like Dave Melson is going to displace Jason Scheck. Brian Schilling, our third place finisher here tonight, he's going to eliminate Greg Palmer, who was not in the field this evening. And then Jessica Shelton, who brings it home in 5th, she's going to move on over Wiley Coates. So those are going to be the 8 drivers that will mix it up next week. Looks like it's going to be Wesley versus McClure, Jeffries versus Mobbs, DeSpirito versus Melson, and Schilling versus Shelton. Those are going to be 4 really good matchups as the bracket challenge continues here for the Talladega Challenge Series. But once again, congratulations to Jeremy Jeffries as he picks up his 2nd win on the season and carries that momentum into next week. He'll look to reel in Brian Schilling and Grant Wesley, who right now are 1st and 2nd in the points. Wesley over Schilling over Jeffries heading into next week. 4 races remain for drivers to be able to make moves to get themselves into a playoff position, whether it be through a race win or top 12 in the point standings. Be sure to join us next week when we head to Talladega Superspeedway. That'll be next Thursday night with the green flag flying at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully Mike will be back in the booth with me. Want to wish him well. Hope he feels better as he was under the weather here tonight. And also, again, a big thank you to Bernie Mobbs for our incredible FRN pace truck making its debut here tonight. And we'll see it for the remainder of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage here this evening. We'll see you guys next Thursday night. If you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.